Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. We have a packed schedule, and so we are going to do our best to get started on time and just kind of jump right in. So I'm going to share my screen here. Welcome to today's webinar, Deep Dive into Plus. Just before we really get into the meat of things, a few housekeeping things. First off, we are recording today's session, and we will send it out to you later this week. And then we have time set aside for Q&A at the end. It's super important that you put your Q&A questions in the Q&A section and not in the chat section. If we don't get to your question, we will try and follow up with you afterwards. And so we'll only pull from that Q&A section. So definitely use that component of the Zoom webinar. Also, this is our second in a series of 3 double check webinars. So if you missed yesterday, Maddie is going to drop a link in here, and that is the link to the updates from the core webinar yesterday. And then tomorrow we have a deep dive into our scale package. So, come and check out all the different things that Double has to offer and figure out what's right for your client in this series. All right, today I am joined by 2 wonderful featured speakers that hopefully are not new to any of you. First off is Shayna Murray-Wolf, our head of customer success, and then also Sage Greenstein, our scaled CSM. Shayna and Sage, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello. Happy to be here. Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Elena. Hi, guys.
All right. So as I said, we have a lot on the agenda today. I will start by just going over what these new plans are that we've introduced in 2025. Shayna is going to go into receipt management and give you a deep dive on that functionality, and then Sage will give us a look into AI financial summaries. So, what are these new packages? Part of us adding more features is us figuring out how best to serve you and how you best serve your clients with those features. So, earlier this year, we introduced a new tiered pricing packaging. So, Core remains our $10 a month package. No price increase on that. That's what you've always known as Keeper Premium. We also, though, introduced Plus, which is what used to be Keeper Receipts. So now Double Plus is basically that $15 add-on, but instead of being a 10 plus a 15, it's just a $25 per client. We did the math for you there. And then we also have Scale at $50 a client. Critically, these are all mix and match. So choose the one that works best for each client and then put the rest on Core and move on with your lives. For the end of the year and to kind of give you the idea of what these different packages do, we are running a promotion. So if you upgrade a client from Core to Plus, we will give you a $25 invoice credit. And if you upgrade a client from either Core or Plus to Scale, that will be a $50 invoice credit. So before I pass it to Shayna, I just quickly want to highlight where all of this lives in the product. So if we come in and we're on our client list and we go over to this little practice settings, on the left-hand side, we have all client settings, and then we can see what all of our different clients are on. And so if I go into Ben's books, I can see that this client is on Core, but I can easily upgrade them to Plus or Scale. Super easy. All right. With all that said, I'm going to pass it over to Shayna, and she is going to get into the nitty-gritty of receipt management.
Awesome. Thanks. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Can you see my receipt management in Double?
Looks great.
Awesome. So, some of you are already familiar with this, but in my mind, there's kind of 3 main stages and big value props of managing your receipts in Double: collect, process, and store. So you can think of this as collecting the documents you need from your clients, then processing them, which means either matching or posting to the ledger, and finally storing them back to QuickBooks or wherever you need to store them for the long term. So some kind of overview of the value props here. If you're using the Double client portal already, then shifting over to Double for receipt management, you don't have to make a lot of changes. Your bookkeeping team, your whole team is familiar with how to communicate this way. Your clients are familiar with the portal. So everything just sort of seamlessly integrates with how you're already communicating. When it comes to processing the receipts, we have our deep ledger integration plus AI intelligence and OCR technology. OCR technology is the technology that scans and reads images. So all those things together allow you to breeze through processing files and can actually reduce duplicate transactions. And finally, for storage, a lot of this just syncs really seamlessly back to QBO for you without a lot of effort. And then you also have backup documentation because all of these are stored in double as well. And an added bonus is that your clients will have some great visibility in the portal into what they've uploaded. So that's the high level here. Let's start to dive a little more into nitty gritty. When it comes to the collect piece here, so how are you getting documents from your clients? How are you getting receipts, invoices, bills? Well, the first way is obviously via the client portal. We have the web browser. Clients can just log in on, Google Chrome or whatever web browser, but also the mobile app. And once they're in the portal, you can see this screenshot over on the right. Your clients can respond to specific transaction questions that you've asked them and upload a receipt there. They can also drag and drop a receipt or any file into what we call the uploads inbox here, which is on the dashboard of the main screen in the portal. Now, those are available even if you don't have receipt capture enabled or the receipts feature enabled, but they get much better when you do. One of the reasons why things get better is when you upgrade to Plus, you get access to set up an email forwarding address. To be clear, this is a little bit different than the practice email, which is used to send the outbound notifications to clients about the portal. This is the flip side. This is allowing clients to forward you in receipts, invoices, bills, bank statements, whatever they want to send you. And not just clients, so not just people you've invited to the portal, but also other users, anyone like vendors even can use this email forwarding to get you documents directly into Double without needing to hassle with it at all. Even you and your team can use this email forwarding as well. Then you also get text messages. So your clients can take a photo on their phone and send you the receipt via the practice phone number that you've set up in your practice settings. And the last method is that you can actually add a file yourself from within Double if you want. Okay, so I'm going to now dive into the next step of receipts, which is how do you actually process them? So I'm going to switch over to my Double account here. And a quick note on enablement. I know Elena showed how you can upgrade to Plus. Once you do that, receipts mostly lives here in your client uploads area, which is right at the top of your close page. Um, and that's where you're going to see all of your receipt management. You'll notice there's this yellow banner, and this will prompt you to set up that client forwarding email. And if you need help with any of that, write into our support team. They can help you, but that's one way to get this set up. I also didn't note this is for QBO only at the moment, just in the spirit of, not leaving zero in the dust. This is for QBO only right now, but otherwise you should be good to go. Okay, so now that we have it set up, let's talk about processing receipts. If you don't have receipts enabled, you'll have this upload inbox, and this is where you can get files from your clients. What receipts does is it adds this whole transaction files area. I highly recommend that you turn on auto scans, which is right up here. And then what happens is when you receive a document from a client, we will scan it with that OCR technology and determine if it's a transaction file or something else. So this is something else. This is just a photo of a sad cow, and it is not related to a transaction in QuickBooks. So it stays up here in the uploads inbox where you can move it around, delete it, download it, whatever you need to do. But when you have transaction files, you have a bunch of options. You can either match them to an existing transaction in the ledger, you can post a new transaction, or if you're still confused about what's going on, you can ask your clients about it. So I'm going to breeze through a couple examples if I can. The first one is going to be, let's start with this taco joint transaction. Receipt. So we open it up. You can see that actually, before we do anything else, it's suggesting a match. And this is because we're so deeply tied to the ledger that we can actually go back to all this data and find that this is already in the ledger. We don't need to post a new transaction. And so if we feel confident, yes, this is a taco joint November 17th transaction, this looks good. All we have to do is click confirm match. And then that will sync that file back to that transaction in QuickBooks. and you're good to go. Now, what if there is not a suggested match? So let's open up this OpenAI receipt. This one doesn't suggest a match. So this has either not been coded into the ledger yet, maybe it's still in the bank feed or something. But the good news here is that we actually have some suggestions. So we're reading the transaction date, item number, and all of that. And then we're also suggesting for you who we think the vendor may be, as well as how we think this should be coded and the description or memo line here. How are we doing that? Well, again, the ledger integration. So if you click this similar transactions, we're looking at historical transactions that are similar to the data we gathered from this receipt, and we're making these suggestions for you with the little light bulb. So all you have to do if this looks correct to you is just post it. It'll post it to the ledger. It will attach this receipt to that transaction, and that's really all you need to do. I do want to give a pro tip here. If you notice there's these little lightning bolts, what these allow you to do is set up some rules. So normally the payment account would be blank, and you could just select from the chart of accounts what payment account this comes from. But even better is if you click on the lightning bolt up here for rules, you can set up these vendor rules, and they can be a variety of different criteria. My personal favorite is to set up a vendor rule for the payment account. So in this case, I have one set up that if it recognizes the numbers 0009, then it will assign the payment account Amex 10009. So that's what you can see here. This is a separate vendor rule that I set up previously. That's for 8999. But same idea, the lightning bolt is showing the rules that you set up to speed up this posting process. So if we're happy with this one, let's go ahead and post it. It'll post it back to the ledger. And then if you want to see the transactions you've posted, those are going to be right here in posted transactions. It's kind of hard to see, but it's this little clock icon here. Sorry, a lot of mine are deleted because I was playing around with things, but you can see I have a link to these posted transactions. I can view these files, and I can take actions here as well. All right, last little note, I want to make two quick things. One is related to the storage of the files, which I mentioned is the third big piece. Well, as you saw, these are stored in Double. They are also automatically synced back to QuickBooks, and you can always access them here in Files. If you go down to your auto-organized folders, you have transaction files. Really, really great. And then on the client side, they also have a folder if you've given them access to files in the client portal where they can see their transactions files that they've sent you. I had mentioned value prop was duplicates. So my almost last point here is that one of the ways we reduce duplicate transactions is that, let's say for that taco joint transaction that I posted, let's say it was in the bank feed. Well, if you're worried about duplicate transactions, if you've experienced that with any other tools you've used in the past, one of the things that is great about the way it works in Double is when you go back to the bank feeds, QBO, if you're using the QBO bank feeds, will recognize that there already is a transaction for that in the ledger, and you won't post a duplicate, you'll match it. If you're using the Double bank feeds, even better, but that's how you're going to reduce some duplicate transactions here. Finally, if you don't know what to do, you can always ask your clients about these. Everything, like I said, is integrated and seamlessly one sort of centralized system here to communicate with clients, post the transactions quickly, and it works really well. Before I pass it off to Sage, I do want to mention some great updates that we've made to receipts. If this is something that you used already, we made some amazing updates in the past year or so. One is that we have many different transaction types now, so I didn't really call this out, but you can see you don't just have bills and expenses, you have bill payments, invoices, deposits, credit card credits, JEs, really everything under the sun. You can now create multiple transactions from one receipt file. If your client sends you like a huge PDF with a bunch of things kind of on top of each other, you can split the receipts into multiples. We added multi-currency support for transactions. We also added bulk actions for the files that end up in that transaction files area. We also flagged duplicates, potential duplicates, even better than before in Double to reduce duplicates. We also give you better visibility into client memos on their receipts submissions. They can leave you notes and you can easily see any notes that they left you. And then, of course, a lot of speed improvements and bug fixes. So there's many more improvements to come, and there were even more than this that I couldn't fit on this slide. But yeah, I hope that that helped give you an intro to receipts, and I'll pass it off to Sage.
Thanks, Shanna. Hello, everyone. So I'm Sage, and you might have also seen me on some of the YouTube videos, so definitely check those out. But I'm going to be diving into Double's AI Executive Summary feature, and this feature is available on the Plus and Scale tiers. And what it's doing, and I'll jump into a demo in just a moment. But what it's doing is it's generating a really high level narrative from the last 12 months of financials, including vendor spend and year over year comparisons. And it's just a really easy way to add some more clarity, context, and a bit of a personal touch to those monthly reports and end of the month deliverables that you can send in Double. So before we dive into a quick demo, I just wanted to call out how the AI Financial Summary feature can fit into your practice. And to me, it really comes down to two things. It's efficiency and scalability. So you can see we got a couple sticky notes right on top that call attention to if you're manually writing executive summaries versus if you're also trying to explore some advisory services. But some of the questions that I would encourage you to think about would be how long does it currently take to review a client's P&L and balance sheet and create a summary highlighting key trends and analysis? Or what could you or your team do with some of the time saved if a customized summary was generated instantly with a click of a button? And then how might you deliver more advisory level value to clients without having to increase your workload? So this feature can help with a lot of that, and we'll dive into how it works right now. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right. So you guys should be able to see my double account. And the way that we're going to get to this feature is starting from the client list, you're going to click on a client and you're going to navigate to the reporting tab in the top left of your screen. Now, this is also where you can put together end of the month deliverables. You can edit a lot of these different reports in the monthly report section, which we have help center articles and videos on our YouTube channel. But today I want to focus on the executive summary. And that is this third tab down right here on the left-hand side. And what the executive summary is doing is just giving a high overview of different trends from revenue to net income, the ability to call attention to some key metrics off of your P&L, balance sheet or cash flow statement, as well as any custom metrics you might have created for this client in the metric section, P&L year-to-date comparison as well. And all of this data can be configured through this top left button here. But what I want to spend more time on is the summary note, which is where the AI summary can come into play. So if this is your first time using the feature, when you click on this button, it'll start off as blank. Of course, you could always type in something manually, but what we're going to do is we're going to use the draft with AI button. So when you click on this, you're going to notice that you can toggle between a couple different pre-drafted summaries that we've provided to you. So you can click into this and you can select some options. You can see I've even created some custom ones, or you can simply press the browse prompts and you can view them in this way. So the first two that we give you are the executive summary professional and then the executive summary friendly. So I'm just going to use the friendly one as an example, and you can see what it's saying. You're an accountant writing for your client about their recent business performances, add a high level sentence or two summarizing the latest results using casual, friendly language, and avoid accounting jargon, and then also include a couple bullet points highlighting performance trends, any risks or opportunities. So this is something that we could generate. Alternatively, you could create your own. So if I go back to the browse prompts, I could add new prompts. And you can see that I've created some examples that are unique to some industries, like the restaurant industry, construction industry, the e-commerce industry. And then I've also created Sage's super simple prompt, which we'll use for the example. So I'm going to go ahead and press generate. And while Double is thinking, I think it could be helpful to call attention to just some tips with using AI prompts. I imagine a lot of you already have used AI in up until this point, but I think things that have been really helpful are just being very clear with the outcome that you want. So a few details about what you're trying to produce versus just the topic, giving some more context before instructions. So a few details about the audience, the tone, use cases dramatically help improve the results, and then starting simple and then refining later. So you can use AI to just create the first draft, and then you can always adjust it with follow-up prompts like please make this shorter or make this sound more conversational. So think of prompting more as a conversation than just a one and done command. And you can see that it's now generated something for us to review. We can click into this box and make any edits, whether it's bolding things, italicizing, pressing enter, and creating the right spacing, and then I can save it. And now we have a really nice short and sweet executive summary that lives on our report. And all that's left to do is publish this once we're ready for the client to view not just the executive summary, but everything else that we've created. And once it's been published, you're always able to view what that looks like, just like this. So really saves a lot of time, takes a lot of the manual work out of it. Um, I think one thing to keep in mind is that the AI note is something that you're going to want to revisit every month before you publish the new financial report, just in case you want to make any edits. Hopefully, you're reviewing this every month anyway. And I think the last thing I want to call attention to before we wrap up is just any security concerns. So at Double, we take security super seriously and we hold ourselves to very high standards to protect your data and your client's data. We're SOC 2 Type 2 certified. And while we do use OpenAI to help us generate a lot of this data for you, we never sell your information to them or anyone else. So all of this is very secure and super, super easy to use. So that is this feature in a nutshell. And I'll pass it back to you, Elena.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sage. And thank you, Shayna. We've had questions rolling in, so we will move over to those. I'll just put this handy Q&A slide up on the screen in case anybody's curious. All right, Shayna, I'm going to start with some questions for you. There's been a couple of different questions along this line, but basically, um, can you also use images from Google Drive for receipts? Basically, is there a way to integrate with Google Drive or other external drives?
Great question. As far as I know, not today. I may have heard some inklings that it's on the roadmap, but I don't want to overpromise. I can get more details on that. If you don't know about our Canny feature request board, please add your vote to the Canny there, because then you'll automatically get notified of any updates to that. But I'll check with our product manager. I think I've heard that we are looking into more file storage integrations. I don't believe at the moment we can auto sync back to Google Drive for the receipts quite yet.
Correct. Yeah. It's not, I was able to preview these questions, so I got to do a little side digging on my side. And so we are definitely working on this, and it's something that's on the roadmap. It's not available today, but it is on the roadmap.
Yeah, nice.
Perfect. All right. So Shayna, continuing for you. So some clients send us messages in the email with the attachment. Is there a way to also read these messages as well as the attachment?
Definitely. That is something that you'll be able to see. Um, Basically, it will be it's something called notes. It's in the top right when you're previewing the file itself, and that will have any notes that they wrote in the email, or if they submitted it via the client uploads inbox, those notes are also in a column. So we made it pretty obvious what their notes. It's actually a column called submission note as well. So you'll be able to see any comments that they made when they uploaded the file for you, or when they emailed it in to you.
Okay. And I will pull off this slide just in case anything that I ask you do want to, you want to demo live.
Cool.
All right, next one for you, Shayna. We are trying out the receipts feature this month. The client sends zip files with their saved receipts. Are we able to upload this and somehow use this feature in bulk, or will it only work if they send individually?
That's a really good question. I would have to test this out a little bit. I think what you would probably want to do is just click the add files, and you can drag and drop. I don't know if it supports zip files, but if you open up the zip file and make it a folder, you could probably drag that whole folder in here. So you're able to download not one by one. You can dump a bunch of files. So what I would recommend is if the client sends that to you, um, put the zip file on your desktop, make it like a folder, drag and drop it into Double on your side of things on the close page by clicking the add files. And that should work well, I think.
Perfect. Unzip that baby. All right, Sage, I'm going to move it over to you.
Okay.
Can the AI financial summary features be used for a diagnostic review?
I mean, you can definitely use the AI summary note to be very customized for each client. What it's reading specifically is the P&L and the balance sheet. So as long as the data or the prompt that you're creating is written in a way that works for you and for the client, it should be able to produce something for you. But again, it's only going to be reading the P&L and the balance sheet. So just keep that in mind with your prompts.
Yeah. And then how far back did you say that it's looking through the data?
So it can go as far back as 12 months as well as a prior 12 months as well. So up to 24 months, it can go as far back.
Okay.
Um, but
So
I
you
would
are used
encourage
to
that,
that.
yeah, but I would encourage like when you are writing the prompt to be specific with the timeframes that you want it to include. Again, the more detail you can give each prompt, the better. And you can always continue to go back to that same prompt and add for more context or make changes along the way and save those in the future. But
Perfect.
yes, the more specific, the better.
Isn't that the case with AI? All right. So also for you, Sage, is the AI closed? In other words, can someone outside of Devil see what I'm working on?
Um, no one outside would be able to see what you are working on. So it's all secure. Everything that you're doing in your double account is secure. That information is not shared anywhere. So no, no one outside would be able to see what you are doing.
Awesome. And then we are also not sharing, we're not using things across different customers or clients or anything like that.
Correct.
All the AI things are also isolated to your account in addition to being isolated to Double. They are isolated to your Double.
That is correct. That is correct.
Um, all right. Shayna, I'm gonna send this one your way. Is there a storage limit on uploads or files?
No, I don't think so.
Fantastic. What an easy question.
No,
Yes,
we want you to be able to manage many hundreds of receipts over many years. So you should be able to do all the receipts your heart can desire, bills, invoices, all that good stuff.
Amazing. All right. So also for you, Shayna, is there an easy way to find a transaction? The naming makes it challenging to find transaction in this user's experience. And do you, if not, do you have any tips?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd have to talk to that person to know more what is confusing for them. I would say, I don't know how many people know there's a search all transactions. I guess I can share my screen. I don't know if this answers this person's specific question because I don't know exactly what issue they're running into, but there are a lot of things kind of going on in Double and it can be sometimes hard to navigate. But I would say if you go to search transactions, you can search by um, a name, like a vendor name, a keyword. You can also use these filters. So you can filter on the vendor, you can filter on the account. So if you're looking for something specific, there's a lot of good ways to find it. And while I'm here, someone else asked about whether the file is there. So if we're talking specifically about files on transactions, if you click the drop down arrow on a specific transaction, it will show you if there are attachments either in that drop down or over here on the right in attachments. So I'm not sure what is, it can be sometimes sure hard to find things because there's a lot going on here, but I would say leverage the search all feature, use these little funnel icons to filter for certain things that you're looking for, or just use the search bar itself. And that might help you as opposed to maybe if you're talking about kind of having to go through this folder here and search for things, it might be easier to just use the search feature and then any attachments on those transactions, they'll be there as well. They're everywhere. They go with the transaction.
Perfect. So
and
with
you
the
can, and you can
clarification,
search.
oh,
Oh, sorry, I was gonna
sorry.
say you can search based on amount as well. So you could, if you know the specific value
Yeah.
of that
Mhm.
transaction, that could be a very fast way to find it.
Yeah. Good point.
The clarification we got was that they're using HubDoc and it's nice to search for receipts or invoices by vendor. And so, can the receipts be stored by vendor? Was the clarifying question.
That's a great question. These are not organized by vendor. That's certainly something we could put as a feature request. I don't see why that would be a problem. Um, but I wonder if you could also maybe make a custom report.
Mm,
I could get back to you on that. I think there might be something interesting with custom reports. I'll do some digging there because one of the great things is that the reports will show you any transactions that are missing attachments, and you can do some cool things with customizing your reports to show you a subset of transactions. So I'll do some digging in that, but it also might be a good feature request as well.
perfect. All right. I'm going to take the screen back from you, Shayna. And we are just about at time. So thank you everyone who joined us today, who joined us yesterday. To learn more about the next tier, which is scale. Join us tomorrow. Maddie will drop that link in here again, which will have the recording for yesterday's webinar on core, which is obviously all those features are included in a plus subscription. And then as well, it'll also have the registration link for tomorrow's. And then just as a final reminder, we are running a promotion. So if any of this stuff looked interesting to you, put a client on it, try out an AI financial summary, see what they think. And if they do, hopefully that's something that you want to go into the new year with a couple of clients. All right, thank you all again so much, and we hope to see you tomorrow for the webinar on scale. Have a great day.